The air inside the luxury cafe was thick with arrogance that morning. Crystal chandeliers glistened above the heads of businessmen dressed in $1,000 suits. Laughter echoed between polished marble walls, laughter that belonged to those who never knew struggle, hunger, or pain. Among them sat William Cross, one of the richest real estate tycoons in the city, a man who believed money could buy respect, control, and even forgiveness. His ego was as tall as the skyscrapers he built. But outside those glass doors, under the burning sun, stood a man who once ruled the open roads. Jack Turner, the leader of the Iron Riders Biker Club. His leather jacket was worn, his hands calloused, and his eyes told stories of storms survived. He had come to the cafe not for trouble, but for peace, to ask William for a small donation toward a charity event the bikers were organizing for orphaned kids. He believed even the coldest hearts could show kindness, but that belief was about to be shattered. Before we go further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of humanity, please hit like, comment, and subscribe. It keeps stories like this alive and helps spread goodness in the world. When Jack entered, every head turned. The smell of motor oil and leather didn't belong in a place that smelled of imported coffee and greed. The waiters froze, unsure what to do. William looked up from his golden cup, his lips curling into a smirk. Jack walked up calmly, holding an envelope with documents and letters from the kids' orphanage. His voice was steady, polite, a man trying to do something good. But before he could even explain, William leaned back in his chair, chuckling softly. "You bikers think you can just walk into a place like this?" he said, his tone soaked in mockery. The laughter from nearby tables joined his arrogance like a cruel chorus. Jack didn't reply. He simply placed the envelope on the table. "This is for the children, not for me," he said. Quietly, "We just need a little help." William lifted his steaming cup of coffee, glanced at Jack's face with disgust, and in a single cruel motion threw the entire cup at him. The boiling liquid splashed across Jack's face and beard. The cafe fell silent. For a moment, even the sound of breathing stopped. Jack staggered back, his hands covering his face as pain seared through his skin. The smell of burned flesh filled the air. One of his brothers, standing near the door, rushed forward, but Jack raised his hand to stop him. His pride wouldn't let him strike back. "Not here, not now." William stood up, laughing. "Get out of here, you filthy biker! You don't belong in my world!" The Iron Riders began to move in, anger boiling in their veins, but Jack's voice cut through the air like thunder. "No," he said. "We walk away, he's not worth it." And they did. They walked out, leaving silence and shame behind them. But what none of them knew was that fate had just started writing the most ironic chapter of William Cross's life. That same evening, as the sun dipped behind the skyline, William attended an exclusive charity gala, the kind where people pretended to care about the poor while sipping wine worth more than a family's monthly income. He bragged about his morning encounter, joking about how he put a biker in his place. Laughter followed him everywhere he went. But outside the hotel, the storm clouds gathered, literally. A violent thunderstorm was building up, heavy with rain and rage. When William finally left the gala, his driver was nowhere to be found. Calls went unanswered. His phone's battery was dying. The city streets were flooded, and in a panic, he decided to drive himself. He wasn't used to being alone or vulnerable. As he sped down the slick highway, lightning flashed across the sky, blinding him for a moment. Then it happened. A tire burst. His luxury car spun violently, crashing into the guardrail before skidding into a muddy ditch. His head slammed against the steering wheel. The world went black. When he opened his eyes, rain was pouring through the shattered windshield. His leg was pinned. His phone was dead. The cold seeped into his bones, and panic turned into terror. Hours passed, or maybe minutes, he couldn't tell. Every sound of thunder made him flinch. He screamed for help, but only the storm answered. Then, faintly through the roar of the rain, came the sound of motorcycle engines. Deep, growling, powerful. At first, William thought it was his imagination. But then headlights pierced the darkness. 5, 6, 7 bikes, all circling to a stop around his wrecked car, and leading them was Jack Turner. William froze in horror. The same man whose face he had burned that morning now stood before him, his leather jacket drenched in rain, his eyes unreadable. The iron riders surrounded the car, silent and still. For the first time in his life, William felt what it was like to be powerless. He was trapped, bleeding, helpless, completely at the mercy of the man he had humiliated. His voice trembled as he whispered, "Please, help me." Jack didn't speak. He simply walked to the side of the car, pulled at the crushed door, and called one of his men for help. Together they pried it open, ignoring the rain and mud. When William tried to move, he screamed in pain. His leg was twisted badly. Jack took off his jacket and wrapped it around William's shoulders to keep him warm. "Stay still," he said softly. His voice carried no anger now, only calm control. He signaled his men, and they lifted William out of the wreck, carrying him to one of the bikes where they sheltered him under an old tarp until an ambulance arrived. William kept sobbing, whispering over and over, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." But Jack didn't reply. He simply stood there, watching as the paramedics loaded William into the ambulance. Then he turned, rain streaming down his scarred face, and walked back into the storm. The days that followed, the story made headlines. Biker gang saves millionaire who insulted them. It spread like wildfire. People praised the biker's humanity and condemned William's arrogance. His business partners distanced themselves. The media feasted on his downfall. But what hurt most wasn't the loss of reputation. It was the mirror of shame he now saw every morning. William couldn't forget the image of Jack standing in the rain, his burned face calm, his heart bigger than the man who had wronged him. Guilt gnawed at William's soul like an endless storm. After weeks of recovery, he decided to find Jack again. It wasn't easy. The Iron Riders weren't exactly listed in the phone book, but he eventually found their clubhouse on the outskirts of town. The same place he once would have mocked, he now approached with trembling hands. When he entered, the bikers went silent. All eyes turned to him, the man who had humiliated their leader. He could feel their anger like heat on his skin, but he walked straight to Jack, who was sitting at a wooden table polishing a motorcycle chain. William fell to his knees. The sound echoed through the room. "I came to thank you," he said, voice breaking, "and to apologize for everything." Jack looked at him for a long moment. Then he stood, walked over, and helped him up. "You don't need to kneel," he said quietly. "Just do something good with your second chance." Those words hit deeper than any punishment could. From that day on, William Cross changed. He sold one of his luxury cars and donated the money to the very orphanage Jack had spoken of that morning. He sponsored the bikers' charity rides and even rode alongside them once. Awkwardly, but sincerely, he learned that power doesn't come from wealth or status. It comes from humility. And every year after that, on the same day the accident happened, he would visit the Iron Riders clubhouse with a cup of coffee in his hand, not as an insult, but as a peace offering. He would raise it and say, "To second chances." Jack would smile, scars and all, and reply to lessons learned. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in kindness, and subscribe for more stories that remind us what it means to be human. Special request: before you go, comment below. Kindness always wins. To remind others that no matter how cruel the world becomes, compassion still has the power to change hearts. Moral: the strongest people aren't those who never fall, but those who rise above pain, forgive when it's hardest, and turn hate into hope. Jack's scars became symbols of strength, and William's tears became the start of his redemption, because sometimes it takes a cup of burning coffee to wake a frozen soul.